Today, though, President Trump signed his first piece of legislation into law since he's been the president again, and I'm glad that he did. It's a piece of legislation that I often wondered if Joe Biden had gotten it, would he have signed it? I hope so. It would have been ridiculous not to, but this was the Laken Riley Act. And Laken Riley's mom was there, and their dad too, I believe, but the mom spoke. And instead of showing you the signing, because on the radio it doesn't come over very well, I'm going to read you the story about getting this done. I think this was extremely important to get this done, and it is now part of the law. The argument from the left, 145 or something representatives that voted against this, was that somehow it's going to put those who are here illegally who haven't committed crimes in harm's way, which doesn't make any sense. I would rather protect our people from illegal aliens doing all sorts of bad things to us. So this story is coming to you from Fox News Digital, and Fox News Digital brings it. Let me give you who the actual writer of the story is. It is Diana Stancy, S-T-A-N-C-Y. Haven't seen Diana's name on here before, but the headline is Trump signs Laken Riley Act into law as first legislative victory in new administration. President Donald Trump signed the Laken Riley Act into law on Wednesday. Some would call that today, marking the first piece of legislation to become law since his second administration. Quote, this horrific atrocity should never have been allowed to happen, Trump told reporters ahead of signing the legislation. And as president, I'm fighting every single day to ensure that such a tragedy never happens again. The measure, which advanced through the House and Senate in January, directs Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, to detain illegal immigrants arrested or charged with theft-related crimes or those accused of assaulting a police officer. Law also allows states to sue the Department of Homeland Security for harm caused to their citizens because of illegal immigration. The law's name honors a nursing student who was killed during a jog on the University of Georgia's campus by an illegal immigrant, Jose Ibarra, who previously had been arrested but never detained by ICE, received a life prison sentence for killing 22-year-old Laken Riley. Riley's mother, Allison Phillips, was there and talked about how much gratitude they had for the president signing this bill. In fact, I want to show you that instead of telling you what she had to say, because I welled up.
We also want to thank President Trump for the promises he made to us. He said he would secure our borders and that he would never forget about Laken. And he hasn't. He's a man of his word. We trust that he will fight for the American people. Most importantly, I want to thank our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, because without his sacrifices, Laken's story would have ended on that horrific day that she was taken from us. But because of him, we can continue living knowing that we will see Laken again.
And it's rough. I'm glad Trump got it done. It's rough. It's hard to hear it. It's hard to see it. But her name, her daughter's name will live on through the entirety of our history as a country because this law is named after her. I'm sure she'd rather have her daughter back. I wish this law weren't necessary. But you had Mayorkas, you had Biden, you had this ridiculous open borders policy by that administration that allowed it to happen. It never should have happened. Very, very simple to have closed the border and just continue what Trump was doing in the first administration. Because of their it wasn't even being lax, because of their open border policies, because of their want to get millions of new voters for the Democrats in, that they hoped they could fast track to citizenship, she's now dead. Many others raped, many others killed, many others robbed, many others burglarized, many others terrorized. Entire apartment complexes taken over by bad guys. So I wish this weren't necessary, but I'm certainly glad that President Trump got it done. Trump continued talking about illegal immigration, what he plans to do.
Today, I'm also signing an executive order to instruct the Departments of Defense and Homeland Security to begin preparing the 30,000-person migrant facility at Guantanamo Bay. Most people don't even know about it. We have 30,000 beds in Guantanamo to detain the worst criminal illegal aliens threatening the American people. Some of them are so bad we don't even trust the countries to hold them, because we don't want them coming back, so we're going to send them out to Guantanamo. This will...
What's the question? It's just the right thing to do. You get 30,000 beds at Guantanamo Bay. And the difference is, and we jump into this with Ted Poe later, The difference is when you're here on American soil, you've got all sorts of constitutional rights, even if you're an illegal alien criminal. When you're in Guantanamo Bay, you don't. Guantanamo Bay is in Cuba. And we own it. Cuba not very happy about that, but it's ours. And it is not American soil. I mean, it can be considered American soil, but it is not the United States of America in that you get constitutional rights. It's literally there to be a tribunal for war criminals. And the reason why we have it is so that the war criminals don't get that same due process that we, those of us who are here legally in this country, that we get. Righteous move, smart move. It was what should have been done. I'm glad he's doing it. No reason not to do it. Now, later, because there's a lot of confusion over this, later we're going to talk about President Trump and the funding freeze. The left lied about it, said that Medicaid was going to stop, Medicare was going to stop, Social Security was going to stop, food stamps was going to stop. None of that's true. None of those things to individual Americans was going to be affected. Caroline Levitt did a good job yesterday of explaining that. Today, President Trump goes out of his way and explains it even further because none of that stuff was going to stop. You're talking about stopping funding, blanket funding to states without any sort of strings attached. Well, the states don't just get free money from all of us and then do whatever they want with it. There's got to be some accountability. But today's big deal was Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who you've seen or heard on this program a couple of times now. Good long interviews. We like him a lot. He is nominated to be the Health and Human Services Secretary. And he's sitting in front of a bunch of woke dorks in the United States Senate. Elizabeth Warren had to have her piece. Yeah, Bernie Sanders had to say his thing. These people don't have any clue what they're talking about. None. Yet they sat there as if they had the moral high ground somehow. Here's a guy who at 70 is in better shape than most people watching and listening, including me. Here's a guy who is a lifelong Democrat who switched to support Donald Trump because of the health of the United States of America. Here's a guy who just wants the truth about shots, just wants the truth about the ingredients in our food. And they were lighting him up like he's some sort of anti-everything and trying to make money off of Big Pharma or something. The whole thing's very strange. But I think that these senators go so far that anybody watching or listening that has a brain, and anybody who watches or listens to my show does have a brain, you already know what it is that they're doing. These people are in the pockets of Big Pharma. They're in the pockets of big war. They're in the pockets of big globalism. They're in the pockets of the deep state. And Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is going to take it. Few people emailed me today, what are your thoughts on Caroline Kennedy coming out against him? I don't care. If he doesn't care that his first cousin's coming after him, why would I? He's unafraid. So let me give you just the first salvo in this. I'm going to play a lot of this hour. I want your thoughts on the Laken Riley bill, or now law. I want your thoughts about Guantanamo Bay getting these illegals, although that's not probably a story that's a big talker. The big interest I have, your thoughts on Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders and other leftists thinking they have the moral high ground with a guy like RFK Jr.
I'm asking about fees from suing drug companies. Will you agree not to do that?
You're asking me to not sue drug companies,
no,
and I'm not going to agree to that,
drug
Senator.
Companies as much as you want.
I'm not going to agree to not sue drug companies or any.
Literally, she was asking him if he planned on suing drug companies. Will you pledge to not sue drug companies, basically? She's saying not profit from suing drug companies, but if he's an attorney that's suing drug companies, and if he wins, he should profit. But I mean, I'm just going to rewind that because that was really, really vital. She wanted to know if he would agree to not profit from suing drug companies. I think that she's throwing up some sort of a shade or barrier for drug companies, and you got to ask the question why.
From suing drug companies. Will you agree not to do that?
You're asking me to not sue drug companies,
no,
and I'm not going to agree to that,
drug
Senator.
Companies as much as you want.
I'm not going to agree to not sue drug companies or anybody.
So let's do a quick count here of how, as Secretary of HHS, if you get confirmed, you could influence every one of those lawsuits. Well, let me start the list.
She is so disconnected. She doesn't realize how badly she just did. She was trying to get him to say, I'm not going to sue drug companies. Now, she framed it in such a way as to say, I'm not going to profit from suing drug companies. But if he says, okay, I won't profit from it, then he either has to sue them for free or just not sue them. She's trying to protect the drug companies. Now she's alleging that as Health and Human Services secretary, he somehow is going to profiteer from it, even though we had somebody like this, Rachel Levine guy who was in there, who was only pushing a trans agenda. That was fine. That was never questioned.
You could publish your anti-vaccine conspiracies, but this time on U.S. government letterhead, something a jury might be impressed by. You could appoint people to the CDC vaccine panel who share your anti-vax views and let them do your dirty work. You could tell the CDC vaccine panel to remove a particular vaccine.
Can you imagine how delusional she must be that she thinks she's doing well? There's a level of delusion there that I honestly think psychiatrists or psychologists should get to examine her, because there's something wrong there. She keeps on going like her opening salvo worked. She literally opened up this conversation by making a fool of herself, and she's going on as if she did well.
From the vaccine schedule, you could remove vaccines from special compensation programs, which would open up manufacturers to mass torts. You could make more injuries eligible for compensation, even if there is no causal evidence. You could change vaccine court processes to make it easier to bring junk lawsuits. You could turn over FDA data to your friends at the law firm, and they could use it however it benefited them. You could change vaccine labeling. You could change vaccine information rules. You could change which claims are compensated in the vaccine injury compensation program.
I mean, has anybody checked to see if she's invested in Big Pharma? I'd like to know. Sam, do a quick Brave search or something and see if Elizabeth Warren has any investments in Big Pharma. There's something going on here.
There's a lot of ways that you can influence those future lawsuits and pending lawsuits while you are Secretary of HHS. And I'm asking you to commit right now that you will not take a financial stake in every one of those lawsuits, so that what you do as secretary will also benefit you financially down the line.
I'll comply with all the ethical guidelines.
That's not the question. You and I.
That is the question. He doesn't have to say he's not going to sue them, because then she adds a bunch of garbage like then we can assume that you're doing it to line your buddy's pockets, and she's adding a bunch of pejorative crap that doesn't belong. If he wants to sue Big Pharma, he should be able to, but he's going to comply by all the ethics stuff, certainly. Sam, any investments from her in Big Pharma that you can find?
I couldn't find anything on Google, but I'm asking.
I literally
Grok
said
right
don't
now.
Google. I said Brave it, because Google will hide for her.
I'm asking Grok.
All right, Grok it. There you go.
You have said
You're asking me, Senator, you're asking me not to sue vaccine pharmaceutical companies. Yeah, you are. That's exactly what you're doing.
Look, no one should be fooled here. As Secretary of HHS, Robert Kennedy will have the power to undercut vaccines and
I can't listen to it anymore. I will play more Elizabeth Warren in a bit, but he's right. You're asking me not to sue pharmaceutical companies, and I won't do that. No, I'm not. Well, yes, you are. She never gives a reason for how she's not. She literally is trying to protect Big Pharma, and there's got to be a reason why. And I don't know if her husband might be invested. I have no idea, but I'm just asking the simple questions. And if you're inquisitive, you certainly want to know why she's going down this line of questioning. Sam, anything?
Nothing substantial, but I mean, that's not to say that someone in her family or like you said, her husband might be investing. I don't know, but there's nothing on Grok that is concrete.
Now, do me a favor and ask Grok or Brave or somebody if Big Pharma donated at all to getting Elizabeth Warren elected. Appreciate that. All right, she's going to do that. We're going to do a break here. Let me tell you, though, she thought that she was smart, and she came off like an idiot. But then again, if you are one, then you're going to come off like one. Then there's this back and forth where she pretends as though Big Pharma wants him to work for them or something. The whole thing is very strange, but I want to find out what the connection probably is. And whether there are super PACs that helped to get her elected, whether Soros was helping. I know that Soros helped to get her reelected again. But I'd like to know if there's any connection to Big Pharma, because that entire line of questioning was to protect them. 833-JOE-PAGS, that's the number, 833-563-7247, or joepags.com. Scroll down, click on contact. You get us a message here. My latest video is Elizabeth Warren and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. going back. You have to go see it. It's over on TikTok. It's on Instagram. It's on YouTube. It's on X. My pleasure to have you, the Joe Pag Show, for your Wednesday, a hump day. Thanks for being here. Sam went to Open Secrets, and Open Secrets is where they actually list where you're getting your donations. And on this list from the 2020 election cycle, Elizabeth Warren got a lot of money from a lot of people. A lot of money from a lot of people. Pharmaceuticals, healthcare products shows $625,580. Miscellaneous health shows $644,499. Now, Sarah Fields, who is a great reporter from the great state of Texas, she's broken it down even further on Open Secrets. The top 20 member recipients of money from pharmaceuticals/health products 2019-2020, Elizabeth Warren is number 2 at $821,941. Not surprisingly, Bernie Sanders, who also gave RFK Jr. a hard time, is the top of the list at $1.4 million. So it's out there. There's a website called Open Secrets. You can go and check it out. And I don't know how she honed it down to more pharmaceuticals/health like that. But what Sam found is very valuable as well. Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars to help to reelect Elizabeth Warren from Big Pharma. And now you see her defending Big Pharma, trying to get RFK Jr. to say we won't sue Big Pharma, something that he wasn't willing to do. It's not done there. She at one point alleges that Big Pharma wants him to work for them or something. And that exchange is actually pretty funny. Then we will get into the aforementioned Bernie Sanders, who's just as clueless. But it's important that we know, are these people being funded and financed by people that they're defending as if they're defending them, for us? They're not. 833-JOE-PAGS, 833-563-7247. Go to joepags.com. Check out all the social media. That latest video is up and running, doing very well. Keep it here.
This is the Joe Pags Show.
We've got Elizabeth Warren going after RFK Jr., making an absolute fool out of herself. As usual, doesn't act like she knows that she made a fool out of herself. We just did the examination, over $800,000 from Big Pharma to get her reelected, and she, of course, is up there on her podium, giving it to RFK Jr., trying to defend Big Pharma. I mean, literally was trying to get him to admit that he would not, or to promise that he would not, sue Big Pharma, and he called her out. Roman, Boston, talk to me. That's your Senator, Roman.
Oh, yeah, Joe, I'm so proud. The past couple of weeks, she was definitely not passing the peace pipe with RFK today.
No.
Joe, listen, this incestuous relationship that the United States government has with Big Pharma is right in our face. Last week when they went after Pete, they went after him, but not like this.
No, right.
And why? Because they're protecting their pocketbooks. Liz Warren, we got Liz Warren, and up in Vermont, we have Bernie Sanders with millionaires and billionaires need to pay their fair share. Give me a break. The last thing New England had to be proud of was the Patriots when Tom Brady was there and he even left us. It's just ridiculous. Liz Warren always looks like an idiot.
Well, Roman, I gotta ask you now. Bernie Sanders is probably locked in because Vermont's so tiny. He gets 6 votes and he's in. But I mean, in a place like Massachusetts that I think is wavering, you guys are getting close to purple. I mean, you're not yet. You're still blue, but you're getting close to purple. Is there no way to get this person out? She represents herself. That's it.
Joe, the thing with Massachusetts is, and I'm going to say it right on national radio, it is a dirty, filthy state for elections. They call elections 30 seconds after 8 o'clock at night. They already know who the winner is. Unfortunately, it's never going to be. And you're right. It is inch in purple. But they're never going to let a Republican win again. The last Republican that won federally was Scott Brown. And that would be it. It's just a mess in Massachusetts. It really is. Unfortunately, she'll always get in. She will always get in Massachusetts.
I'll probably have Scott Brown on again. So Roman, thank you. We had him on, and he gave some good insight into how he did win that state. Maybe we'll have him on again. I think that was a good. It was a good point to bring him up. He did win. Of course, we know that Mitt Romney won, but he was a very wishy-washy Republican. Scott Brown wasn't, though. He was a better Republican. I wonder why that can't happen again, because Elizabeth Warren is not doing any good for the state of Massachusetts, just making a fool out of herself nationally speaking. Let's go back to another exchange, and this is where, again, RFK Jr. makes you look foolish.
Commit that when you leave this job, you will not accept compensation from a drug company, a medical device company, a hospital system, or a health insurer for at least 4 years, including as a lobbyist or a board member.
You realize how stupid and insane that question is? She wants him to pledge that he won't take any money basically from Big Pharma or Big Health, who he just doesn't even like. He's 100% against them. So his answer is really, really appropriate.
Can you just repeat the last part of the question? Can I commit
You're not going to take money from drug companies in any way, shape, or form.
Me?
Yes, you.
Oh. I'm happy to commit to that.
Okay, good. That's what I figured.
How stupid a question is that? This is the guy that is fighting Big Pharma, Big Food, Big Health. He wants us all to be healthier, in better shape, eating more nutritious food. He doesn't want Big Pharma to be able to push things on us that we don't know what's in them. Why would she ask him that? I'm going to play that again because I want you to see how it unfolds. He's so surprised by it. He's like, who? Me? She's like, yeah, you. Well, no, of course I'll commit to that.
Commit that when you leave this job, you will not accept compensation from a drug company, a medical device company, a hospital system, or a health insurer for at least 4 years, including as a lobbyist or a board member.
Can you just repeat the last part of the question? Can I commit
You're not going to take money from drug companies in any way, shape, or form.
Me?
Yes, you.
Oh. I'm happy to commit to that.
Okay, good. That's what I figured. I said it's an easy question to start with. And I think you're right on this.
I don't think.
Does she not know how stupid that sounded? I mean, when I saw that today, I thought to myself, what's she doing? I mean, was it leading to a more gotcha question? She just asked the guy that she doesn't want to be the HHS secretary because he is anti-blanket coverage and protection for Big Pharma. She just asked him if he would commit to not taking any money from them. What? Why did she use some of her time on that? By the way, if you want to see that, you want to share that, you want to spread that, it's my top video on TikTok, Joe Pags, on Instagram, YouTube, and X, Joe Pag or Joe Talk Show. Those three, it's Joe Talk Show, all one word. On TikTok, it's Joe Pags. It's doing very well because people are going, really? Is that what's going on here? Let me go back to Boston. Going to be Scott. Scott, what's on your mind? Hi.
So, Joe, just want to let you know, Moderna is located in Cambridge, where Liz Warren lives.
Well, there you go. Now, that doesn't, it could just be a coincidence, Scott. Come on.
No, seriously. But, you have to laugh about this. And also, just as a quick aside, of course she's going to penetrate him and talk to him about, is she going to sue the drug companies? Is there any record? Look it up, Sam. We'll see. But also, they're grooming Michelle Wu to take Liz Warren's seat. That's just a hidden secret that we know here in Boston, just to let you know.
Well, yeah, I think that you actually told me this before, Scott, before I let you go, that somehow Michelle Wu is like a disciple of Elizabeth Warren. How does that work?
Exactly. Well, I don't know. Moonbat lunacy here in Boston, in Massachusetts. And I got 2 words to sum up the voting in Massachusetts. Ready? Dominion machines. Let's research.
Scott's words, not mine. I have no idea what Dominion machines are doing. I will say this. It's worthy looking into everything. And I'll go on the record and I'll go out on the limb and say this. I think that voting should be done on a piece of paper and you get it counted. I do. I think voting should be done on a piece of paper and you get it counted. And then you find out who won. I don't know why we somehow are required to have electronic voting somehow. I mean, who made that rule? Remember when Iraq was liberated by us? You probably do. When Iraq was liberated by us, what happened? The voters, Sam, you're probably too young to remember. Do you know how voters proved they voted? Sam is taking a call even as we speak. You remember, Polo?
Wasn't it like an ink thing or something?
Yeah, they put their finger in a piece of ink or in a little tub of ink, and everybody who had a purple finger voted. You couldn't go and vote again unless you wanted to cut your finger off, which nobody was doing. That you get one vote, one person, one vote, period. Why do we need some highfalutin electronic machinery that we found out, even though much of it was squelched and hidden, had some vulnerabilities. They were saying it doesn't connect to the internet. Some said that it did connect to the internet. They were saying that it stored the stuff in a hard drive. Others say the hard drives were empty. I don't want to deal with technology when it comes to my vote. I want my vote to count. It's kind of simple. Kind of simple. So, yeah, I think that all should be reformed. I think Trump will try to do that while he's in office because people, I believe, are being disenfranchised. Now, the left says they're being disenfranchised. I'm on the right. I agree. People are being disenfranchised. I think they think that different people are the ones that are being disenfranchised. But one vote, one person, one piece of paper, have a nice day. Let's go eat dinner. Kind of simple to me. 833-JOE-PAGS, 833-563-7247, joepags.com. Stacy, Florida, what's going on?
Yeah, I just wanted to say I think every single Democrat politician is taking tons of money from Big Pharma. That's what we saw when we were in California. They run the state, and
right.
She probably wants Pharma Rep Pan, the senator, to be in the position that we're trying to get RFK in.
Yeah, I think the fear that people like her have, and thank you, Stacey, I think the fear that people like her have is that RFK Jr. will actually push to disallow Big Pharma from advertising on television and on radio. Because when you hear one of these Big Pharma ads, and let me tell you this, if you're listening on a radio station, there might be one on the break. I'm not getting any money from them, but the individual stations make their own deals. So if you're hearing that, it's not me. But having said that, Big Pharma can make any claim it wants. They're still pushing the shots without any information available to us about what's in them, without mentioning the adverse effects that are in the VAERS system to everybody who's listening to the ad. So it's got to be reformed. That's the fear. The fear is not about Big Pharma paying RFK Jr. Big fear isn't about him profiteering from it. The big fear is that he's going to disallow them from just saying whatever they want to say. I'm not sure how this is different from the cigarette industry. Back in the day, not that long ago, 30 plus years ago, I guess, Big Tobacco would use Joe Camel and cartoon characters. And they would push the advertising in certain neighborhoods. All of that came out in the wash. You're not allowed to do that. You can't advertise on TV. You can't advertise on radio. You're going to pay for all the cessation programs to the tune of billions and billions of dollars. Big Pharma is scared to death that's going to happen to them. And I think it should happen to them, because if they're not willing to inform us on what it is they're pushing on us, they shouldn't have free reign to our eyeballs or our ears in advertising. I think it's probably the biggest fear that they have with RFK Jr. Yes, Bernie Sanders does go after him as well. Bernie Sanders, yes, does make a fool of himself as well. He talks about onesies. Sammy talks about onesies.
Okay.
Do you support these onesies? Like, what?
Wow.
He says it. I don't know. All right. 833-JOE-PAGS. 833-563-7247. joepags.com. We're coming right back. I do appreciate you hanging out. Thanks. That hearing going on today in the Senate. Elizabeth Warren made to look like a fool, and then there's Bernie Sanders
from Congress, and will you make HHS?
Actually, this is our good friend Ron Johnson from Wisconsin, and he's serious about RFK Jr. fixing the health situation in this country. I love his answer here.
From Congress, and will you make HHS transparent?
Yeah, my approach to HHS, as I said before, Senator, is radical transparency. Democrats and Republicans ought to be able to come in and get information that was generated at taxpayer expense, that is owned by the American taxpayer. They shouldn't get redacted documents. Public health agencies should be transparent. And if we want Americans to restore trust in the public health agencies, we need transparency. I want to say something about what you first said. When I launched my campaign, it was about uniting Americans, Democrats and Republicans. There's no issue that should unite us more than this chronic health epidemic. There's no such thing as Republican children or Democratic children. These are our kids. 66% of them are damaged. I know what a healthy kid looks like because I had so many of them in my family. I didn't know anybody with a food allergy growing up, peanut allergy. Why do 5 of my kids have allergies? Why are we seeing these explosions in diabetes, rheumatoid arthritis, neurological diseases, depression, all of these things that are related to toxics in the environment? Why can't we just agree with each other to put differences about so many issues, intractable issues aside, and say, we're going to end this? I don't think anybody is going to be able to do this like I have because of my peculiar experience, because I've litigated against these agencies. When you litigate against them, you get a PhD in corporate capture and how to unravel it. I've written 6 books about these agencies. I know a lot about them, and I know how to fix it. And there's nobody who will fix it the way that I do, because I'm not scared of vested interests. I don't care. I'm not here because I want a position or a job. I have a very good life and a happy family. This is something I don't need. I want to do this because we're going to fix it. And the other thing is, we are attracting now a caliber of people to HHS like never before in history. And they're entrepreneurs, they're disruptors, they're innovators of immense talent that are walking away, many of them from growing concerns. They're not coming there for position. They're coming there because they want to save our country. And they're from across the political spectrum. And all these Democrats are opposed to me for partisan issues. They used to be my friends, agreed with me on all the environmental issues that I've been working on for my whole career. Now they're against me because anything that President Trump does, any decision he makes, has to be lampooned, derided, discredited, marginalized, vilified.
We need to move on.
There's a reason why I wanted to show you all of that, because it shows you who he's a Kennedy, for God's sakes. Doesn't need the job, doesn't need the position, has a happy life. He's doing this because enough is enough. When you go from almost no obesity at all for Americans when he was a kid to 70+% in some studies, that's a problem. You need somebody in HHS, Health and Human Services, that actually cares about health and human services. I don't think we're asking much to say that we should have somebody who literally gets it when it comes to the health of this nation. What is up with all these allergies? Why do we have people who are 3, 4, 5, 600 pounds on the regular? I remember growing up, and when I was in elementary school, it was in the 1970s. I remember we might have had one overweight kid. We called him the fat kid. Maybe one every other year, something like that. And it might have been a glandular issue. Who knows? But now you've got, it's like just on the regular. Because they're sedentary, they're eating whatever processed crap is out there. We have stuff that has ingredients in it that should not be in there. Other countries don't put up with it. And now you got a guy who's saying we're over-medicated, we're overfed, we're over-processed, and I'd like to fix that.